Welcome to the source. The source.
Houston got a base runner. There's something I didn't think I'd see.
Hey, get the source.
No runs come home from this. What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope you had a nice Tuesday night. Won a couple baseball bets yesterday. It was cool. Right now, I have the Astros team total over 4.5, and then I have the hell's the bet? Braves. Braves tonight. Love the Braves. Braves are my favorite bet today. Everyone's on the other side. I know. Really need the Astros to start scoring some runs. They've had opportunities, just couldn't capitalize. We're just going to go through a few football games today, and we're going to start out with Colts Jags in Jacksonville. I am on the Jags. I took it at -2.5. I'd still take it at 3. Obviously, if there's no 2.5 available now, maybe I don't know if there's any rush to get this down. Maybe this goes to 3.5. But it's probably just going to be chilling at 3. But yeah, I like the Jags. It's a good matchup for Trevor Lawrence, man. I mean, what is Trevor Lawrence good at? He can throw in zone coverage. He can make the big throws. Also struggles dealing with pressure, right? His pressure to sack rate is through the roof this year. Colts don't have a pass rush. Their two main guys are hurt. I mean, DeForest Buckner's out. Abukum is also still out. So this Colts defensive front doesn't have a pass rush. So one of Trevor Lawrence's main weaknesses is kind of not relevant here. Colts also run a ton of zone coverage, as I mentioned. Trevor Lawrence much better throwing the ball in zone coverage. Also, weirdly, the Jags are second in the NFL in yards per carry. Even last week, another double play. He dropped it. Yeah, it is on the transfer. Even last week on the road in Houston, the Texans have supposedly one of the strongest run defenses in the NFL, and I know that recently they haven't quite lived up to that. Jags averaged 6.6 yards per carry on the road in Houston. So I'm expecting the run to be there as well. I expect the Jags to be able to run the ball. I expect Trevor Lawrence to have time in the pocket. Colts secondary is banged up. Juju Brents is still out. Kenny Moore might not even play. He didn't play last week. He's listed as questionable. So the Colts defense, I like the matchup for the Jags offense across the board. And on the other side, look, there's not much to say about the Jags defense, but they're going to run a lot of man coverage. And do you know that on the season, Anthony Richardson is 1 of 13 throwing the ball against man coverage? 1 completion, 13 pass attempts, 2 interceptions. So he's literally completed a single pass against man coverage this year. That's if Anthony Richardson plays. He's also one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when given a clean pocket. So we could point at the Jags pass rush and be like, hey, they're not going to generate any pressure. Okay, well, Anthony Richardson hasn't taken advantage of having a clean pocket. So I like the matchup for the Jags across the board. I'm on Jacksonville. If I'm back in the Colts, it needs to be against the defense. They can run the ball, and they can get Jonathan Taylor going and even Anthony Richardson using his legs. Jags have a top 10 run defense again, just like they did last year. They had a top 10 run defense last year and added Armstead. So I hope Devin Lloyd plays. He's listed as questionable, the linebacker there for the Jags, but it's Jags for me. I got it at 2.5.
Yeah, I agree with the Jags play. Massive trend for the Jags. I mean, this is a Jags team that owns the Colts, 15-2-1 against the spread in their last 18 matchups, and 9-0 against the spread and straight up in their last 9 matchups at Jacksonville. And this is just like a statement game here. I mean, if the Jags have any form of life left, this is it for them against a Colts team that is just bruised and battered to all hell. Not only are they missing guys in their secondary, not only are they missing just about everybody in their pass rush, but now you're potentially missing your star quarterback, your quarterback and your star running back in this one. I think you're more likely to be missing Jonathan Taylor in this one than Richardson. I want to preface, personally for me, I know Kyle said it doesn't matter to him if Richardson goes or not, if he's going to lock in the Jaguars.
No, it matters, but I would still be on the same side is what I meant.
I only personally want to fade the Colts if Richardson's going because I know that Richardson is horrible against man. And this Jags pass defense is bad. I mean, The only real reason that I want to fade this Colts want to back this Jaguars pass defense because I know that Anthony Richardson is bad against them. And on top of that is the fact that, the reason I'm only comfortable doing it without Tyson Campbell is because Anthony Richardson is so bad against them. That is what I meant. That's the only reason I'm doing it in this case. And the fact that we have that history from Jacksonville in the past. That's the only reason I feel comfortable doing it in this case. So can we stay in this show here? So yeah.
I mean, how many balls to the warning track are we going to hit today?
I don't know, but let's stay in the show.
I do like how you brought that up, and I forgot to mention it. I don't know if there's any single more dominating head-to-head divisional rivalry than the Jags over the Colts. 15-2-1 against the spread in their last 18. 9-0 against the spread in their last 9 home games against the Colts. These two teams play in a division, so obviously they play every year, home and away. And the Colts haven't even covered a spread here in 10 years. For whatever reason, Jacksonville just owns the Colts too, so that you got to throw that on there as well.
But honestly, that's not really the play I like in this one. The one that I really like is Brian Thomas Jr. I'm willing to ladder him. I don't know what his receiving line yard is yet because they haven't posted it yet, but whatever it is, I'm willing to play it. This kid is ready to go. I know he's being overshadowed right now by what Malik Neighbors is willing to do, but I think if we're looking at the rookie wide receivers and who's producing at the second highest level thus far, I mean, your fantasy wide receiver 12 right now is Brian Thomas Jr. This kid is doing fantastic stuff right now, and Trevor Lawrence can't even throw a fucking football. So to see what Brian Thomas Jr. is producing right now is pretty incredible. And he's in a really ideal matchup here. I don't know if Kenny Moore is going. I think that there's potential he does. And if he does, that is going to be nice here because Christian Kirk is going to be in the slot with him. Kenny Moore is by far the best cornerback on this Colts roster. And then who's going to be guarding Mr. Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside? I mean, we've got the option of Jalen Jones, the 7th rounder out of Texas A&M in 2023. I mean, that's not the greatest option for the Colts. Or we've got Samuel Womack, the 5th rounder out of Toledo in 2022. I mean, these are guys that are getting cooked every single week. And the reason why I feel good about a ladder here is that we've seen this Colts team against offenses that are not led by quarterback Malik Willis have 100+ receivers in every single game this year. Nico Collins, 100+ yards. George Pickens, 100+ yards. Rome Odunze, 100+ yards. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is in for a big reception on the outside here. And if you just look at some of his numbers against the coverages that he's due to see in this game, I mean, we're talking some big numbers here. Targets per route run against the against cover 3, which is the most used coverage by the Indianapolis Colts. 0.28 targets per route run, which is a ton of usage right there. And then on top of that, we're talking about 3.97 yards per route run. I just think that Brian Thomas Jr. is in for a huge game here. He's cashed all 4 games thus far. The books have no clue how to price this man. Just continue to see the sky for him.
Yeah, I like that. Like I said, I like the matchup for Trevor Lawrence. And keep in mind, the Jags they do lead the NFL in dropped pass rate right now. So, like, we're shitting on Trevor Lawrence. He's getting no help. The pass protection is terrible, and his receivers are dropping passes at a higher rate than any other team in the NFL. So let's lay off Trevor a little bit. I think he's going to have a big game. So I like that Brian Thomas ladder. What's next up?
My Jets.
Oh, yeah.
This is a team that knows how to put up some points.
I'm going to let you talk because we're going to do a video on this game. Obviously, we'll go through all of it. Don't have a bet right now. I kind of like the over. I think it goes over 40.5, but I'll listen to what you have to say.
Over. Yeah, I mean, the Jets defense, something that really, I guess, bothers me as a Jets fan about what happened in the last game is just what happened, I guess, in terms of what they let up on the ground. The duo of Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams headed into that game were averaging a combined 2.1 yards per carry on the ground together. And I believe it was 30 rush yards per game. In that game, they combined for 110 rush yards per game, and I believe it was 4.9 yards per carry, and that was ultimately what won them the game. Yeah, sure, your pass defense was phenomenal yet again, but if your pass defense is that phenomenal, you only allow 60 pass yards, how are you letting them get anything on the ground? Shouldn't it be even easier to stop them in the run game? I think that's just bad coaching. just lazy shit, like stupid mistakes that honestly just not a team that I want to back, honestly, just stupidity. If that's the incompetency that's happening on the better side of the ball, the elite side of the ball for the Jets defense at home, a place where the Jets defense performs much better, then I just have no interest in backing this team on the road in London, where I think Sam Darnold's in a spot where he could potentially pick us apart. I mean, this is a Jets defense that's top 7 in man coverage rate. You want to know who's the best quarterback in the NFL against man coverage thus far? Sam Darnold. Number 1 in passer rating, number 1 in yards per attempt. I know that's because Justin Jefferson is out there, and now he's going to be covered by Sauce Gardner, who's been arguably the number 1 corner in the NFL going back to his rookie season. But, I mean, this Jets defense on the road, if you look, going back to last season, the quarterbacks just tend to have a lot more success against them, and I could see that here. I mean, even Will Levis, he had a pretty decent game against them if you go and look at the statistics. I know that stupid fucking flipped bullshit fumble like made the game look a lot worse than it was, but statistically not a bad effort in that one. And then that blocked punt, I feel lost in the game, but that was a game I feel like the Jets should have lost. I don't know. I mean, but I also at the same time, I feel like you have to give the Jets offense a bit of a break here. Look at the defenses they've faced thus far. You faced the 49ers, top 10 pass defense, the Broncos, another top 10 pass defense, and then
the Patriots,
and then Tennessee, which is another top 10 pass defense. Patriots are an atrocious pass defense, but guess what? They stomped on them. But you're facing the Vikings now, another top 10 pass defense. So it just, yeah, I don't have much faith for the Jets. I think the Vikings roll here. There's no reason to think they don't. Give me the Vikings -2.5.
So while he was talking, the Tigers hit a solo home run, which I don't care about. I'm not on the Astros to win. I need the team total over, so that doesn't affect me in the slightest. In fact, I think it helps me get maybe light a fire under the Astros' ass. But yeah, I mean, at the current number, it's obviously very clearly that Jets +2.5 is going to be the quote-unquote sharp pick. But the question is there actually any logical reasoning behind taking it other than the fact that, hey, it's a sketchy line, let's take the sharp side? And I don't really know that there is. The reason that my first initial lean in this game was the over, super low number at 40.5. I do not think the Jets' defensive front is very good against the run, and I think AJ would even agree. Proppy would even agree with me on that.
You just allowed Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin to average 4.9 yards per carry.
Precisely.
Go to hell. Go to fucking hell.
Precisely. The only game where the Jets' defensive front looked physical and looked good was the New England game. And they basically had a Bowling Green offensive line out there. They had their third stringers playing in that game. That's why I like the Jets -6 or 6.5, whatever the hell it was in that game, was the Patriots offensive line is in such bad shape. That's the only game where the Jets defensive front looked formidable against the run. Now you're going to play the Vikings, an offensive line that's generating consistent push in the run game. Aaron Jones looks like he's been playing in this offense for 10 years. Like, he looks comfortable as hell. He seems to be on the same page with everybody. That run game looks good. So never mind. I know that Proppy was talking about Sam Darnold's numbers against man coverage. I would argue the Jets' man coverage is a little different than other teams. But as far as the Vikings running the ball, I'm all in. I think they're going to average 5 yards per carry in this game. They should be able to run the ball on the Jets. And then Sam Darnold feeling comfortable, probably able to make some plays out of play action. Do I think he's consistently going to drop back and beat Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed and that man coverage? No. But I also trust Kevin Stefanski to Kevin Stefanski. My bad. I mixed up the Browns guy. I mix those two guys up all the time. But I also trust him to put Sam Darnold in positions where he's not the hero here. Run the ball. You can beat this team. The reason that I'm a little hesitant on laying the 2.5 with the Vikings is I actually kind of think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offensive line, who've been pretty good in pass protection, I actually think they might be decently equipped to give Brian Flores blitz packages problems. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, obviously a high football IQ. The offensive line, this new upgraded Jets offensive line, has played pretty well so far. So I actually think Rodgers is able to make reads on these blitzes and make some plays. So I would go over instead of the Vikings -2.5. But as far as playing aside, I mean, I don't know how you could play the Jets here at 2.5.
Yeah. Nah. I'll tell you.
I'm surprised you didn't roast me for the Stefanski thing. Usually you hate that.
No, I won't. I mean, I'll tell you how you play the Jets plus 2.5. You don't. Just don't do it. Just not cool.
Well, you know that's the quote unquote sharp side, right? Everyone's going to be taking the Vikings.
I mean, coming off a loss to Bo Nix, yeah, of course that's the sharp side. The Vikings look unstoppable right now, but I keep hearing every single week, oh, the Vikings have to lose eventually. I mean, I was told that that trend last week, where it's the favorites that are 3-0 on the road, yada yada yada. And I was even hearing it from that Vikings fan at the Jets game, the lone Vikings fan that went to the Jets game. Oh, we're gonna lose this week. I said, brother, was Sam Darnold the quarterback? Nah,
You're saying it like Sam Darnold's the greatest of all time. Not with Sam Darnold.
Listen, I've been the Sam Darnold defender for years. It's nice to have my time in the sun. Let's see if it continues.
Yeah, so I like the Vikings to be able to run the ball, and I actually think Aaron Rodgers is going to make plays on Brian Flores' blitz packages. So I would go over. But I'll put out a full video, and if I place a bet in this one, I don't have a bet now, I'll obviously let you know in the video when I do like a deep dive on the game. But all right, next up, we're doing college football next.
Thursday Night Football will be tomorrow, Bleaky.
Yeah, Thursday night. We'll upload the video for Thursday Night Football tonight, and then tomorrow's live show, we'll do the Thursday night games. Miami of Ohio at Toledo. Andy's going to come on for this. I know that he's on Miami of Ohio, and I tend to agree here. I think it's a super buy low spot on Miami of Ohio. They had a really rough schedule to start the season, and then they barely squeaked by UMass. But UMass is even a team that I think might be sneaky good, or not good, might be sneaky improved in the second half of the season. So I think this is the ultimate buy low on Miami of Ohio. Keep in mind, they bring back 2 linebackers that were all conference last year. So 2 of the best linebackers in the MAC conference play for this team. Toledo lost everybody from last season. That's why I had Western Kentucky as a top bet against this Toledo team, because I don't think this Toledo team's very good. This line should be closer to 3.5, 4, in my opinion. So at 6.5, it would be Miami of Ohio. I haven't bet this one yet. It sounded like Andy has.
Yeah, I bet this one. I tried to post on the site, but we're going to have to look. I just looked, and my bets aren't posting. So we'll look later. But, yeah, I bet this one. That game against Massachusetts, a little bit fluky, I will say. It was raining, but also there was a play. Tyson Pomachan, the quarterback for UMass, who I thought was going to be really good coming into the year, had a really bad year so far. He didn't play well on Saturday, although his stats look a little bit better than he actually did. He went 9 of 22, 173 yards passing. 64 yards of that was on one play. It was on a 3rd and 12, 64-yard touchdown pass. It was raining, like I said. It looked like the corner slipped a little bit. That's one of those fluky things you can't control. It was a close game all around. Miami of Ohio, they're not going to really beat up on teams anyway. They don't have that type of offense, so I'm not surprised they didn't cover. But then coming into this, I mean, you have a team coming off a bye in Toledo after a tough loss to Western Kentucky, so they should be rested, but again, that's still in their head. They lost the game after beating Mississippi State, so that was a huge letdown for them. And now you have Miami of Ohio, who was picked to win this conference. This is their MAC opener now. They've had about as brutal of a schedule as you could imagine for a team in the MAC. They started off with Northwestern, which obviously isn't a good team, but
Northwestern's got a good defensive front.
They're much better than Miami of Ohio. Then they went on the road and they played Cincinnati. Well, they were on the road anyway. They played Cincinnati, and then they went to go play Notre Dame. So those are 3 brutal starts this season, and they actually held their own pretty well in terms of on defense. They played pretty well overall. They got ran all over by Cincinnati and Notre Dame, but none of those teams threw on them, and that's important here because I think that their run defense is much better than that, right? They just only gave up 4.5 yards per carry to UMass. That was a much better game for them. And Toledo wants to run it. So, I mean, that's how they want to play. They want to run the ball. They weren't able to run on Western Kentucky, and it kind of screwed them a little bit. And so, yeah, I think they're not going to be able to run the ball as well here compared to their other games this year. Miami of Ohio overall just played much better defense. They were picked to win this conference. Like I said, they were the number 1 team coming into the season, and now they're starting MAC play. So this is where their season pretty much starts. We know Gabbert is a hell of a lot better when he plays MAC schools than when he plays UMass, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, those non-conference games that don't mean much. So I'm basically just banking on the fact coming into the season, we all thought Miami of Ohio was the best team. Toledo was picked toward the bottom of this conference. So talent.
Northern Illinois.
I also thought Bowling Green was better than Miami, Ohio,
Yeah,
but
true.
one of the top 3 teams in the conference. And Toledo was picked second to last behind Akron. So like there were or in front of Akron. So a lot of people assume that this team's just going to be just come in and been great because they beat Mississippi State. I don't buy it. Mississippi State looks awful. So yeah, I'm just banking on. I do think Miami of Ohio is a very good team.
Yeah, I think they might be live in this game. Honestly, I don't think Toledo's very good. They lost like out of their 22 starters from last year. Toledo lost like 18 of them.
I'm curious to know
crazy.
what this line would have been like if this game was week 1, because I think Miami of Ohio probably would have been favored.
Yeah.
So
next game, I don't know about favored in Toledo, but
Yeah,
it would have been a
Closer.
lot closer than this. Yeah. Georgia, Auburn. I don't have a bet on that. I have a bet on the last 3. Well, 2 of the last 3, but I have picks on the last 3. This one we put up there. Do the Dogs rebound?
no, well I think obviously they're gonna win, but I don't think they're gonna cover this. I will say this. This is kind of a classic. Everybody assumes Georgia's gonna wake up after that second half they had, which they almost came back and won. That was great. Everybody assumes they're just going to carry into that. Look, I think there's some legit issues with this team. They can't run the ball. I mean, that's been obvious. Their last 2 games, they haven't been able to run for anything. Right now, Trevor Etienne looks like a fraud. No offense. Not to be mean. He looks as fake as could possibly be. He can't get anything right now, and that's against 2 SEC defenses in Kentucky and Alabama. Look, Auburn's got a good run defense. They have a good run defense, so we all know that. So, okay, Georgia's not going to be able to run the ball. Well, is Carson back going to throw all over them like he did in the second half against Alabama? Because we know Alabama, but I don't necessarily think he will, because I think Auburn's got a pretty decent defense overall. Their pass defense is fine. I don't think that they're going to blow out Auburn as easily as people think. Another thing about Georgia, they have started about as slow as you possibly could in almost every game this year besides the Tennessee Tech game. They scored 6 points in the first half against Clemson. They scored 6 points in the first half against Kentucky, or 7 points. And then they were getting blown out immediately in that game against Alabama. They scored 7 points in the first half. They haven't scored double digits in a first half this year. In order to cover a number like this, you're going to have to score a lot of points early. And I just don't think that seems like a legit issue. So there's clear issues here for Georgia. I don't care that this game is at home. Usually Georgia does play well at home, but there's just real issues here for them blowing out a team. I know Auburn's bad. Don't get me wrong. Auburn's an awful football team.
It sounds like you don't know that Auburn's bad.
No,
but
Auburn's
you're about to
bad.
find out.
Auburn's bad, but I think that that they're gonna play. They're gonna play Georgia tough. Georgia's gonna get their best game, and I think it's gonna be closer than people think. Now, do I think it's gonna be like a touchdown game? No, I think Georgia probably wins this by 2 touchdowns. But 24.5 is a high number in a rivalry game like this.
Yeah, I think the exact opposite of what you just said is going to happen. I would take Georgia first quarter -6.5. Georgia first half -13.5. I mean, read the comments. Hot take: Georgia shouldn't be in the top 5. Shouldn't have been in the top 5 entering the season. You could probably make the argument they have the most talented roster in college football, and it's not close.
Hate to break it to you, they probably should still be in the top 3 right now.
Like what? As far as the talent on that team, it's not close. They're so loaded. It's like an NFL offensive line. So yeah, I think Georgia beats the shit out of Auburn. Peyton Thorne throwing the ball. Good Lord, brace yourself. I think it's an absolute
I don't
slaughterhouse.
think Peyton Thorne will play. I guess if I had to guess, Auburn will start Brown in this one.
Wrong. All right, next up. What's next? All right, so this is one I did actually bet. I have Iowa. I took it at +20.5. I mean, obviously, it's at 19.5 now. I think Iowa is able to keep it close. Do I like it as much at 19.5? No, but that still would be the side I would pick. I don't think... Okay, so in terms of Cade McNamara throwing the ball in this new Iowa offense, right? In this new era of Iowa football, the post-Brian Ferentz era... It's kind of looking like same old Iowa in terms of throwing the ball. We're just talking about the passing attack here. But running the ball, what they did on the road in Minnesota is really impressive. I mean, they ran the shit out of the ball. They averaged over 6 yards per carry on Minnesota. I mean, Michigan was struggling to run the ball in Minnesota at home. Look, it's Iowa. By no means am I going to sit here and be like, oh, this is a good offense. But I think this rushing attack needs to be respected. I mean, that kid, Caleb Johnson, he's way more of an athlete than I thought he was entering the season. He's got some really quick footwork, and he goes from 0 to 100 so fast. And I like this Iowa team to be able to run the football sparingly on Ohio State. I think they're able to move the chains here and there against Ohio State, keep them out of dangerous territory in terms of field position. Now, on the other side of the ball, Iowa should need no introduction here. It's one of the best defenses in the country. Why is the Iowa logo so small in the After Effects, dude?
Oh, I have no idea.
On the other side of the ball, Iowa's got one of the best defenses in the country. That shouldn't come as a shock to you. They might have the 2 best linebackers in the entire FBS on their team. This run defense is elite. I don't think Ohio State's going to be able to run the ball in this game on Iowa, because I don't think anybody can run the ball on Iowa. It's really going to come down to what you personally think of Will Howard. If you like Will Howard and you think Will Howard is a big game type of college football quarterback, then yeah, lay it here. But personally, I think he folds a little bit. I mean, I think he's going to be put in a situation we haven't seen here from him yet at Ohio State. The last time Will Howard saw an elite defense was the final game of last year against Iowa State. He wasn't good. This Iowa defense is even better than that Iowa State defense. Now, to be fair to Will Howard, he did play well against some good defenses last year. He played well in the Texas game. So it's not like, oh, he's never played well against a good defense. He has. But this Iowa defense is another level. I think they're able to run them. That's a base knock. How many times are they going to hit it right to them?
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
So yeah, I think Iowa's able to run the football, move the chains sparingly, maybe get some field goals on the board, and I think they're able to force Will Howard into an interception. Ohio State is going to get the ball into the end zone because they can throw the ball, but I think Iowa's able to run the clock, hold on to the football, play the field position game enough to keep this somewhat competitive. So I have Iowa plus 20.5. Yeah, I think they can play them tough.
I bet Ohio State at 19.5. I think that I do agree with you. The Iowa run game is very good, but I think that this Ohio State run defense is insane. Now, you can talk about their first 3 games. Their first 3 games mean absolutely nothing. They played nobody. But Michigan State, I will give them credit. They had 4.5 yards per carry coming into the game. And Ohio State they ran for 1.9 yards per carry against Ohio State. That was a home game for Michigan State. I mean, I think this Ohio State defense is just at a different level. Now, it doesn't matter what defense Iowa's playing. It's seemingly like they're not going to score more than 10 points against anybody, really, in the Big Ten.
Dude, they just lit Minnesota up, bro.
Okay. I'm just saying,
in Minnesota,
in this situation, it doesn't. This offense is not going to score on Ohio State. I don't think that's.
I think they can run the ball.
Yeah, maybe they can run the ball. I don't think they will be. I think that this run defense is insane.
Don't sleep on Big Game Cade.
I'm gonna sleep. I'm slept. The question for me is, do I think that this Ohio State offense can get stuff done on Iowa? I 100% do. I do think Iowa's defense is obviously it's elite. It always is. It's a little bit worse than last year, but it's still really good. I think Ohio State overall, they have a veteran quarterback now. Will Howard does make mistakes, but I don't think he'll make mistakes here. His first Big Ten. First Big Ten home game, I think they'll be locked in. They have a running game. They have a 2-back system that I don't think anybody can touch in the country. They're second in OFEI and they haven't played anybody. So that just tells you they're just going above and beyond being great at this point. So, yeah, I just think they're far better offensively, and Iowa won't be able to keep up. Yeah.
I'm on the other side of that one. Next.
We're on the other side of 2 of these.
Yeah, but I think we're on the same side from here on out.
Yeah, sadly, we're on the same side.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong on this one. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the video I uploaded on YouTube, you guys know that I would go Nebraska here. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm not legally allowed to bet this one because of Rutgers. Unfortunately, yeah, if you look at the final score, Rutgers played great against Washington. But if you watch that game, I mean, they were not the better team that night. Washington was significantly better. It's the ultimate sell high spot for Rutgers here. Going on the road into Lincoln. Rutgers' run defense is terrible. Rutgers lost their best defensive player right before the season started for the year. So their inside linebacker, their main guy, their defensive captain, he's out for the season, and it's showing because Rutgers just cannot make stops as far as stopping the run. And Nebraska, yes, the run game has been a little disappointing as of late, but still, they've got 2 big physical running backs. They've got a pretty solid offensive line. So I actually expect the Nebraska run game to finally show up. It's been missing a little bit. Second half of the Colorado game, it wasn't really there. Couldn't get it going at all against Illinois. I think that Nebraska run game finally shows up. Not to mention, Raiola looks like the man. I was not expecting Matt Rule to what's the best way to describe it? I wasn't expecting Matt Rule to give him that much of a leash. Where they're letting Raiola play Heisman Trophy type football. They're letting him make plays, run around. I thought Matt Rule was going to play a very throw a very conservative offense out there with having a freshman quarterback. But they're letting Raiola be the man, and he looks like the man. So I don't think Rutgers defense can make stops in this game. And on the other side, look, I mean, Monangai in the Rutgers run game is official. It's a top 25 rushing attack. Deserve respect. Samuel Brown, also a really talented runner. It's just too one-dimensional here. Khalid Manis was able to make plays against Howard and Akron. Khalid Manis hasn't really done anything since those two games. And it's not that I think he's absolutely terrible, but he's just not – he's not going to go on the road into Lincoln against that pass rush and make play. I don't trust Khalid Manis enough. I think Rutgers' offense is going to be way too one-dimensional in this one to keep up. So if I was able to bet this one, I would be laying with the Huskers. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong on this one because obviously I'm rooting Rutgers, but unfortunately I think Nebraska wins this one by double digits.
Yeah, I as sad as it is, I agree. Somebody just asked how much better is Nebraska's offense than Washington's. I think pretty significantly. I think
I'd say it's close.
I'd say that there's
okay, hold on. So I'd say that the offenses are close, but if you're just looking at the final score, 18 points, like Rutgers shut down the Washington offense. That's not what happened. They had like 7.7 yards per carry, 9.5. Dude, they averaged 8 yards per play as a team. They were doing whatever they wanted on Rutgers. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot. They missed 3 field goals. They fumbled the ball. And Washington should have won that game by 2 touchdowns.
And on defense, they had a play. Rutgers missed a field goal, and then the guy came on the field too early. Yeah. And that put a first down. Like, that game was wacky in all types of ways.
When I tell you I was rooting for Rutgers, Rutgers should have lost that game by 10-plus points. Washington dominated that football game.
Yeah, and I give Nebraska credit. I thought their running game would be – I didn't think it would be anywhere near as good as it's actually been. I will give them credit. They had a game against Illinois that we kind of shut them up. We kind of – gave up on them there because they had 1.7 yards per carry, but that was literally the best example of why the college sacks rule is the stupidest thing in the world. Horrible. Because they averaged 4.5 yards per carry. That's a really good rushing game. That's a great game. If they do that on Saturday, they did that against Illinois, they'll probably get a lot more against Rutgers. Rutgers' run defense is terrible. It's not the strength of their team. They put corners and safeties in the NFL. They don't put defensive front guys. They don't do that. So I think that Nebraska will be able to run all over them here, and that'll that'll open up Dylan Raiola to do whatever the heck he wants. So yeah, I think this is, and you said it on the other side, I think this is kind of a letdown for Rutgers. They're coming into this thing so hyped, excited, and now they're going to have to win the game with Khalid Manis, and I'm sorry, that's not going to happen this year. So yeah, this is a typical, honestly, I think it could get ugly type of game. This is a typical Rutgers letdown. Yes, I 100% hope that I'm so wrong on this because I want to see Rutgers keep winning. Because we might get game day here, but I really want to see that.
Game day in Piscataway would be wild.
It's never happened before, but I think that this is going to be a rough one.
Let's move on to the last game. The market is against me on this last one. I don't 100% understand why. I'm not letting it work. The market's been wrong all the time this year. sharp money has been way off. In a lot of cases this year, especially the first 4 weeks of college football. It's almost like if the line moves against you, you should breathe a sigh of relief because the sharp money's been so off. So I'm not letting it worry me. I was pretty confident when I grabbed Missouri +2 that I was going to be holding all kinds of closing line value on that. I thought Missouri was going to close as favorites. Instead, it's at 2.5. So not only did it not move the way I thought it was going to move, it moved the other way. Not really sure the angle that they're seeing. Obviously there's money coming in on the Texas A&M side, and money significant enough to move the line. It's not like they don't know shit. Like they have some influence in it, and they clearly know what they're doing. So there's angles here for Texas A&M. I'm on Missouri here, AJ. You can put Missouri up. But if I was to try to make a case for Texas A&M, I guess Missouri has looked a little vulnerable to the passing attack, and maybe if they think Wegman's coming back, that Wegman comes back and he's better at home at Kyle Field. It's kind of like a buy low spot on Wegman. He's able to make plays through the air. I don't know, because if Marcel Reed's playing, I don't know how you could lay with Texas A&M here. That offense is really one-dimensional. It's relying on the run. Missouri's shown us they can really defend the run well. That's dating back multiple years. That's dating back before Missouri even came onto the scene as a top contender in the SEC. They had a decent run defense there a couple years ago. This team can stop the run. Brady Cook, we're waiting for a game for him we're waiting for Brady Cook to break out and Luther Burden and look like that explosive SEC offense we were expecting from Missouri. I think this is the prime spot in this huge noon game. Texas A&M, this is a different team than in years past. They're not anchored by the pass rush anymore. This is a Mike Elko-led Texas A&M defense that specializes in stopping the run. That's cool. I mean, Missouri has been running the ball well recently, but they have a Heisman hopeful quarterback and arguably the best wide receiver in college football in Luther Burden. So, yeah, go ahead. Sell out to stop the run. Watch what happens. I think Missouri's offense is going to finally look like the Missouri offense we've been expecting. Off to a little bit. You know what it kind of reminds me of, Andy? Kind of reminds me of Virginia Tech before the Miami game. I was like, guys, I think we're going to see Virginia Tech look like Virginia Tech. I think we're going to see Missouri look like Missouri finally. For those of you that have just started watching college football this season, Missouri was in the conversation with Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia as being a contender to win the SEC.
They still are. I mean, the schedule works out that this team after this week,
that's why I love the 12-team playoff, though, and a lot of people are hating on it. I like it because these teams are losing a game, and it's like, dude, their season's not over.
Well, this is the thing.
Football to watch.
This is the thing, and this is a reason I feel like people have the wrong idea about Missouri. People are acting like they lost to Vanderbilt. All right, they survived.
I know.
That's all they had to do. All they had to do was win the game.
Call.
They're 100. I mean, they almost had a wake-up call the week before against Boston College, where they were winning by a ton. They fell asleep and almost lost the game. They have back-to-back wake-up calls.
Boston College is the opposite. They were losing and then came back.
They were down 10-3 or so. It was, but they were winning by 17. They were up by 17 late, and they gave up 14 points in a row or whatever. Like, it was they almost blew that one, and then now they've had back-to-back wake-up calls. They had a bye week in between. I imagine practice was miserable because Eli Drinkwitz will do that to their teams. They've had success on the ground, and I'm sorry, that's the one thing that I'm worried about for. Yeah, that's down. That's the one thing I'm worried about for Texas A&M, because as great as they've played the last couple of weeks, Bowling Green, that's a team that wants to throw the ball. We all know that. Arkansas, they've seemingly had a better passing game than we expected.
Speaking of Bowling Green, Connor Bazelak was making some plays through the air.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I mean. Like, that's a team that wants to throw the ball. Florida, they have no run game. They had no run game in that game, but they were also down by a ton the whole time.
Graham
so they couldn't.
Mertz was making plays through the air too.
They couldn't run the ball in that game. So, like, the one time where they had to play a team that wants to run the ball, that wanted to run the ball and was successful running the ball and had the opportunity to run the ball was Notre Dame. Notre Dame had 5.8 yards per carry. So they, like, on the ground, I think that Missouri is going to get a lot done, and that's going to open up Brady Cook. Brady Cook has had not a rough start this season, but he hasn't been Brady Cook. I think he's going to open up in this one. This is a good spot for him. A lot of people are giving love to Texas A&M because it's at home. They've lost a game at home already this year, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I think this Missouri team very well could be playing for the SEC championship against Alabama or Texas, because their schedule after this week is a freaking joke.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly the sharp action is coming on the other side, because the line has moved up, and you could see our poll over 70% Missouri. So the public's coming in on the Missouri side. Again, I don't care. The market moved against me, not something I love to see, but it doesn't exactly scare me. Someone in the comments saying these guys are covering games on Saturday and Sunday. What the fuck? I don't know if there's no football on tonight, brother. There's nothing on. There's no football on Wednesday nights. So we cover Thursday night football on Thursday. That's how
same thing with the Thursday college games. Same thing with the Friday college games. Yeah, the same thing Saturday. We're getting some in.
What we're doing is going live and talking about some games that we've went through. Why would
some of the early lines
football on Wednesday? All right, everyone, have a great night. Thanks for watching. We'll be uploading some more videos. I got 4 or 5 more videos coming tonight. So if you want to check out the handicapping videos, I got a bunch up there already. More coming.